Good afternoon. Welcome back for another edition of 2 p.m. with the Trigger. Great to be here on a Friday with you. Are you ready for a great weekend? Are you ready to have a good time? The work week is almost complete, unless you're a speaker or an author or someone who's traveling. The new speaking gigs, it's always exciting to pack your bag and head on out and go do what you naturally love. But it is a great day and a great week. We've had a good time this week focusing in on the basics of public speaking. And we're just stripping it all back and going back to the very, very beginning. Last night, I had a great time with the launch of our open mic group that we now have going on Meetup. What a great group. Are hungry to learn about public speaking. And most of this group has never done a keynote. Curious, have you ever done a keynote in your life yourself? Maybe you're involved with Toastmasters, or maybe you've been involved with some other organization to better help you speak and lead, working toward that keynote. I know a lot of people aspire to do a TED Talk. Several people in our group last night talked about the desire to do the TED Talk. I've recently done a Blue Talk, very similar to a TED Talk. And in fact, this coming Monday, I'll be working with them again. They're going to do several days of interviews with Blue Talk speakers, and I'll be following up on that. That's one of the things about the speaking world. There's so much more now going on that you can get involved with, that it's not just speaking on stage. It's the podcasts, it's the interviews, it's the talk shows that add to more and more of what you speak on. And that's why you're really not a keynote speaker anymore. Make that clear as we get going here again today, talking about the takeoff and the landing. We're going to talk about the intro and the outro, the beginning and the end, which I think is so, so important to being a dynamic speaker. But you're not just a speaker. You're not just a motivational speaker or a keynote speaker or whatever it is. You are an expert in your field speaking on a topic, and you therefore have a brand authority message. You need to really begin to put that into everything you do now as a speaker and talk about, I'm a brand authority expert speaker. I speak on this. My clients hire me to talk and speak and coach on this. Change the way you frame things up and talk about your unique space. I'm a media expert. I have over 30 years in this space. I work to help you shine on camera so that your brand authority will be elevated stronger and stronger. That's what I do. That's my expertise. Now, and it may seem like a small bubble, but it really is a powerful place to be when you tell people who you are and what you do. And that's a part of the takeoff. Your takeoff is so important. When you first get on stage, I want to take you backstage, first of all. You want to just jump on stage. You want to get going. You want to share what's going on. But there's a step before they put you on stage. Normally, when you submit to be a speaker, to be on a stage, to share a keynote someplace, they will ask you to submit what you're going to talk on, what are some of your key speaking points, and they'll want a headshot, a bio, all that peripheral stuff. Sometime we'll do another conversation here about your media kit. It's really important to have a great electronic media kit. But when you send that information off, you want to include a very, very important element to that. And that would be, you want to add an introduction for them to read before you step on stage. Do not, and I'm going to repeat, do not let somebody else introduce you blindly, even if they know you extremely well. You want this introduction to be your takeoff. This is your pre-launched to blast off and do an amazing, amazing talk. So what you want to do is you want to craft an introduction that sets you up for success. This both energizes you, informs the crowd, energizes them, tease them maybe a little bit about what you're going to talk about, or wow them with who you are and what you've achieved. So your introduction should highlight a little bit now about that brand authority I was talking about a moment ago. You are a brand expert here to speak to them about X, Y, Z. My introduction goes somewhere along the lines of, joining us today is expert broadcaster, speaker, media presentation coach, Rich Trigger Bontrager. Rich is going to help you shine on camera, speak with more authority, and he comes from a lifelong background of broadcasting, professional coaching. Let's welcome to the stage, Rich Trigger Bontrager. Boom. And then I hit the stage full throttle. but you want to make sure your introduction focuses on you, your genius, your expertise, and you want to make sure they read it word for word. And this is really important if you do have people that you're working with that know you extremely well. They want to ad lib. They're going to want to bring some other personal stories in. That's for another time. But this is for them to literally read the card you give them, and you're going to want them to read it word for word. You need to tell them, do not make this stuff up and fly off the cuff. Do not ad lib and change my script. Let them know this is essential for you, because then what you're going to do is you're going to step on stage and you're going to go, wow, great to be here. And you're going to be so excited. You want to match the energy. And even on mine, sometimes I'll put a little extra note, read it with passion, high energy, shout it out at the end. I want them to know I want to hit the stage running as hard as I can, full of energy. And the crowd will feed off of that. The crowd will feed off of that announcer reading it, and they'll be excited to see what you're going to say and how you're going to say it and what you're going to do. And then you come out and you hit it. Now, I'm going to go all the way back to my college days. I was afraid of speaking because of my stutter. And I was not too thrilled to be in a public speaking class back then, to be honest. But as a broadcaster, I wanted to learn outside of the broadcast booth. I wanted to learn how to be on that stage and learn how to work with the crowd. So I took this public speaking course. Now, thankfully, a good friend of mine went first. So we had to do a speech one time, and the professor was stressing this very idea of the introduction, of capturing the audience. What do you do once they introduce you? What's your first thing you're going to do to step off and grab the audience and let them know you're in for a treat today because I'm here to speak? So this college student stood up, got to the podium, moved the podium aside, which I always do now, but he moved the podium aside and he stood there for a second, looked at everybody. I thought he was going to just blank out, and he let out this scream as loud as he could, jumped on top of the chair next to the teacher's desk, and he just stood there for a second. Everyone was freaking out. Why was this guy screaming? And he said, have you ever been so afraid that you screamed? And then he stepped out the chair and went into his conversation about overcoming fears. He had us the very first minute. He had us the first second that he let that scream out. He had the entire classroom in the palm of his hand thinking, what the heck is going on? And then he led into a systematic way to overcoming fear. You need to find a way to capture the audience right away. That's why I believe storytelling is one of the best ways to do that. From my style, from my leanings, I love introducing myself, getting it out there. And the first thing I go is go right into a story. I let them introduce me. I'll step right up and say, hey, great to be here. Wonderful to be here. You know, by the way, and I go right into a story. I let the introduction speak for itself. I don't need to reintroduce myself. Stop doing that. Do not reintroduce yourself. You will share more about yourself during your speech. But skip rewrapping it up and giving them more information and go right into it. You're going to grab their attention, and you're going to stand out from every other speaker by doing that. That's essential to your success, is to make sure you outshine the others. There is a little bit of competition in public speaking. So get the introduction right. Make sure you spend time and craft a well introduction. And again, if you want to learn more about that, you can always contact me, and I'm happy to help you to work on that. Crafting that pre-message, that introduction, is sometimes very, very hard. You don't want it to be long, but you do want to have enough information to really grab people and then go right into that launch. Now, that launch needs to set the stage for what it is they're going to talk about, of what you're going to talk about, and what they're going to receive. That setup needs to be something that grabs their attention and goes, wow, you know, I can relate to you. I totally get where you're at. All right, we're on the same page. Yeah. Present a challenge in your opening story. What's the challenge that you're going to address? What's that pain point that we talked about yesterday? What's that pain point that you have that you're going to help solve for them? But make it clear in your introduction, that's what I'm here to do. Now, that introduction is high energy. It doesn't have to be too long. You're going to get into your actual flow, the nuts and bolts, the 1, 2, 3s. But when you get to that ending again, It could be a 30-minute, a 10-minute, a 40-minute keynote speech. Very often they're 40 minutes. You can have that keynote presentation and you're tired. I know when I get done with a keynote presentation, I have put all my energy into what I do and how I deliver that keynote. It's fun, it's exciting, it's exhilarating. And when I get done, I can feel that it has really pulled a lot out of me. But what you want to make sure at the end is your takeoff and your landing match the energy. Did you hear me? You do not want to end like, and I see so many speakers end where they coast and they quietly land the talk. And it's almost as if they ran out of gas and they don't know how to wrap it up. Don't do that. Work on your ending being so sharp. Yesterday, we were talking about the gymnast who's up on the rings and he's moving and twirling and spinning. And when he gets done with that performance, he lands it, puts his arms up strong, and he nails it. And the crowd goes crazy. You want to do that. You want to have the energy at the end that with all passion, tell them again, strong, here's the challenge. Here's the pain point. Here's how you're going to overcome it. I know you can do it. I want to hear from you. And if you have a website, if you have a free giveaway, if you have an offer, give it to them with all passion. Don't do it like you're accidentally doing something at the end. You know what I'm talking about? Where you get to the end and it's almost like you're ashamed to go for the big ask. Now, a lot of stages do not allow you to sell from the stage. I do not sell from the stage very often at all. I hate it. That's what messes up the landing. When you now turn into the salesman pitch person and you're trying to sell your product at the end. Instead, what I do, I will talk about the challenges, the solutions, and if you want to learn more, contact me. And my last slide, usually on the slides, is a direct contact, a QR code to get in touch with me and follow up. But I make that clear challenge at the end. If you want to learn how to be a great speaker, here's the things you need to do. If you want to have a great podcast, here is what you need to do. And you make it that strong because, again, you're the authority. You're the expert. Don't waver at the end because like way back at that beginning introduction, they set you up as the authority. And here's the other thing I'll leave you with for today. You've already been hired. They may even have already given you the check. They've already promoted you for the event. So why would you ever want to hold back and not give them the best? Go out there and hold nothing back. Give that high challenge, give that high performance, and do it in a way because the audience is already ready. They already believe in you. They're already counting on you. They're expecting you to give them something that is absolutely amazing and revolutionary for their career and for their lives. So go big. Remember, as you do this, you want to make sure that you are always presenting the best of who you are as that brand voice and that brand authority. So work on your introduction for your stage. How do you want to be presented by somebody else when they read the introduction card that you will give them? And you're going to tell them, read it this way. What are you going to do when you first hit the stage to grab them with that introduction, that first few words that are going to grab them for the next 30 to 40 minutes? And when you stick it, make that ending so strong, so solid, they have to get on their feet and give you a standing ovation. Takeoff and landing. It's a powerful thing. As always, if you want to learn more about these media skills and gifts of public speaking and how to better show up on camera and stage, just reach out to rockthestagemedia.com. We'd love to talk with you and work with you, or go to rich@richbontrager.net. I hope you have a great weekend. I know the holidays are here and people are always shopping and having fun. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you next week with another 2 p.m. with The Trigger.